What's poppin', yo? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at a game that I played and completed on the channel a little while ago. But as we are taking a look at the MCU on the channel, as we are taking a look at all the Marvel movies, I thought it would be pretty interesting to take a look at the Guardians of the Galaxy game at the same time, because I never actually reviewed this game when it came out. I'm gonna be honest, I started game review like last year, so it wasn't a game I ever got around to reviewing. But I would like to talk about it because I have very fond memories of this game, I have criticisms of this game, and I want to talk about it, so I'm gonna talk about it. I am here and I'm ready. So, the story of Guardians of the Galaxy game went as followed. You were the Guardians, you're flying around space, you get paid to do a couple of jobs, you then continue to do those jobs. You find Adam Warlock, you save Groot, you give away Groot, you then, fight a sort of corrupted being which takes over a daughter, your daughter, for whatever reason. Quill has a daughter, and then also takes over Adam Warlock, and you have to fight Adam Warlock at the end because, like, the mind flare basically takes over. And I do believe some of your choices lead to different outcomes because you originally start by mining. Like, you're mining on a planet for gold, which is cool, which is great. But unfortunately, you only get to play Star-Lord, which I don't like. That bugs me. Only playing as Star-Lord fucking bugs me. I would have so loved to have played as Rocket, or Groot, or Gamora, or Drax. Playing as any of them would have been fucking decent. But we're stuck as Peter Quill all the way through this game. Now, not saying I don't like Peter Quill, but I skipped over the story very, very quickly because I have a lot to say about this, and I only have 10 minutes to say it. So, the fact that you can only be Peter Quill really bugs me. In this sort of new world, this new era of sort of 4-player co-op games. We have a 4-player sort of Turtles game, which is linked into Mutant Mayhem. We're getting a 4-player Turtles game. We're getting a fucking... What is it? We're getting we had a 4-player Gotham Knights game where you could swap between all the characters. We had a 4-player Suicide Squad game. You could swap between all the characters. Even in the Avengers game, which came out a few years prior, guess what? You could be any Avenger you wanted to be. So please tell me why in this game could I only be Star-Lord? Why could I only be Star-Lord? That is my biggest criticism with this game, because I feel like it just lost so much potential in only letting you play as one character. There is so much more creative freedom and potential that this game had if it let you play as the other characters, because the other characters had special roles. Like, Drax was the strong one, you knew that. Groot could do plants, Gamora had the agility, and Rocket could go into tight spaces. But instead of letting you play that, you just told them to do that. You would push either one of the buttons, which made one of them do it. I do believe there was a special button set where it was like left trigger for Gamora, right trigger for whatever. There was a special button which commanded a special character to do something. And they also had special ultimates as well, where if all of them did the ultimate at the same time, it would do a cool move, and that was cool, and you could command when and where they did their ultimates. But that's very limiting in sort of gameplay. Like, it gets very boring very quickly, and I actually liked this game. I thought this game was very fun. I felt like the level design was really interesting, and it didn't feel repetitive. It felt really coherent, it felt really clear. I liked it. The bosses weren't too difficult. There was a varied sort of amount of enemies. There was a load of different planets and a load of different places to sort of go around and discover and to fight through. I thought it was cool. I loved building up the stamina bar, unlocking different sort of bullets for your gun was cool, but all that could have been spread out between multiple characters. Like, let me play as the raccoon. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to be the raccoon. I wouldn't have played as anyone else. I would have just been Rocket. I'm gonna be honest with myself. I would not have played as anyone else until it made me. I would have just played as Rocket throughout the entire game, but it was upsetting, and because it put you in like the leader role, and that's its entire emphasis. Like, that was the whole sort of emphasis of the game. You was the leader, you was the commander, because when you had like the ultimate, everyone would huddle around you and you'd have to pick the right words to motivate everyone, and if you didn't, the ultimate wouldn't do as much damage as what it could do, or you had to side with certain characters. I always sided with Rocket because Rocket's my favorite. Which sort of influenced their opinions of you, what happened to them, and it kind of gave you a feel of choice, but didn't really, because I'm pretty sure none of the choices that you actually made had any significance, except to a couple of level changes. I feel like the outcome of the game ended the same way no matter which choices you picked, like to sort of give Groot up or to not give Groot up. Either one would have still got you to the end goal of Adam Warlock being the main villain. And I loved how it twisted the ending. The ending, although it was set in stone, was a really good twist ending, because it had you walking down the hall, you had just defeated a bad guy, or you thought you defeated a bad guy, and the credits were rolling, everyone was cheering, you expected that you finished the game, and then subtle little things in the credits started to glitch out, subtle little things in the credits started to change here and there, which is unnoticeable at first. I'm going to be honest, when playing this game, I didn't notice all these little changes in the credits, and then it would sort of become more and more frequent. It would become more and more sort of, glitchy and breaky, and then it's like the music starts to change as well into more of a boss music from the calming sort of relaxed end music, and then from there you're thrown into a boss fight. And I thought that was such a badass twist, such a badass payoff as well, because the last boss kind of felt lackluster and didn't feel like a final boss, so it definitely subverted expectations with sort of throwing another boss in there, giving you like a false ending, which I quite liked. That false ending was really good and sort of built the hype back up for the final boss. It was like a very comedic thing. It sort of hyped you up for the boss, but the boss was kind of like a letdown, so it sort of felt like it ended on a little bit of a low, and then it sort of built up the hype again through the credits and the glitching and the songs and the soundtrack. It was genuinely a really good ending and a really good intro to the final boss. Some of the worlds, yeah, they looked pretty similar. Some of the levels and some of the sort of characters got redundant because it was just doing the same thing with Rocket again, sending him through small spaces, using Drax to push stuff over, using Groot to use his vines to grow stuff. All the other characters felt really 1D and like only useful for certain situations, and that is true, but I feel like it had a lot of potential to unlock a little bit more of their character and to give them a little bit more to do and make it more of a Guardians game if you could play as them and if you could do these things yourself instead of just telling them to do it, because telling them to do it is a completely different player experience than doing it yourself. Being the leader didn't feel like a heavy responsibility on you, because even if you didn't tell them to do it, you couldn't progress until you did tell them to do it. So it didn't feel like it was a choice, it felt like you were forced into it, and that's just not good gameplay.